Good morning, Indiana manufacturers. Today, we're talking about three things that impact your inputs, your water, and your ability to automate without losing your mind or your margins. You've got a new aluminum gateway opening up, a political fight brewing over water, and a 50-year-old Indiana automation company reminding everybody that we actually know how to build things here. All three of those will impact your cost, uptime, and risk in different ways. Here's the number of the day: 100,000 tons. That's the expected annual aluminum import capacity at the new Ports of Indiana facility. And that's a lot of metal that can now come straight into your backyard instead of taking the scenic route through someone else's port and someone else's truck fleet. So what that means for you is potential leverage, shorter routes, better logistics options, and maybe a little more pricing power if you're smart about how you source it. Story one: how the new aluminum capacity at Ports of Indiana can pad or protect your margins. The Ports of Indiana just expanded its ability to handle aluminum imports, and this new facility is built to process up to 100,000 tons a year. The whole point is to streamline the supply chain from aluminum heavy industries, not 5 years from now, but as this thing ramps up. So, if aluminum is a big line item for you, this is one of the few headlines that might actually put money back into your pocket instead of taking it out. More local capacity usually means more stable access, fewer weird shipping routes, and better odds that you can negotiate on logistics instead of just taking whatever's on the dock. Over the next 6 to 12 months, that can look like a little less volatility in lead times and a little breathing room on cost per pound if you're willing to change how you buy. What you want to watch for now is very simple: your own aluminum procurement and freight numbers. Don't wait for a supplier to call and say, hey, good news. Start asking, can we route more of our aluminum through Ports of Indiana? Does that cut days or dollars out of the current path? Question you can take into a meeting today: how can we leverage the new Ports of Indiana aluminum import capabilities to optimize our current supply chain and reduce material costs? All right, story number two: the LEAP water deal and why every Indiana manufacturer should care about a reservoir. Indianapolis councilors are sounding the alarm on the LEAP district's proposed water deal. The plan involves pulling a significant amount of water from Tippecanoe County, and there's concern it could threaten the Eagle Creek Reservoir and local water supplies. On the surface, that sounds like a regional planning fight. Underneath, it's a signal about who gets priority when big developments show up. The question is, where do you sit in that food chain? If water gets tighter, or even if people just believe it's getting tighter, utilities and regulators have two levers: higher prices and stricter rules. If you're in a water-intensive industry, that can mean higher utility bills, more reporting, more restrictions on when and how you use water, and more friction next time you want to expand or permit a new line. So what you want to watch for here is any legislative or regulatory talk around water rights, industrial usage, and tariff changes. If you start seeing proposals about new industrial water rates, conservation mandates, or environmental compliance tightening up, you want to know that before your next budget cycle, not after. Here's a question for your team: what is our current water consumption footprint, and what contingencies do we have in place if water availability becomes constrained or costs increase due to regional development? Story number three: Pasco's 50-year milestone and what it says about your automation options. Pasco, an Indiana-based industrial automation company, is celebrating 50 years in business. Half a century in automation is not an accident. It's proof that this state has deep roots in advanced manufacturing tech. For you, the message is this: you don't have to go halfway across the country or halfway across the world to find serious automation partners. A mature local ecosystem means there are people in Indiana who understand your kind of plant, your kind of workforce, and your kind of constraints. Over the next year, as labor stays tight and wage pressure keeps creeping up, tapping local automation expertise can be the difference between barely covering payroll and getting more output with the same headcount. Here's what you want to watch out for: it's new offerings, upgrades, and case studies from Indiana-based automation providers, whether it's Pasco or someone like them. Anytime you hear about a local shop increasing throughput, cutting scrap, or stabilizing uptime using automation, that's a cue to ask, are we behind the curve here? Here's a question for your team. Are we fully leveraging local Indiana expertise and technology providers in industrial automation to optimize our production process and stay competitive? So let's tie this together. You've got a port increasing aluminum capacity, politicians fighting over who gets the water, and a local automation company hitting 50 years in the game. Put together, that tells you three things. Your inputs might get easier to source if you move fast. Your utilities might get more politicized and more expensive if you ignore them. And your path out of workforce pressure might be sitting 20 miles away in an automation shop you haven't called yet. Now, look, I don't run your plant. That's your job. My job is to watch this and hand you the questions and potentially the leverage you're not getting from a press release. So, if I were sitting in your morning huddle, here are the questions I'd put on the board. Given the new aluminum import capacity, how can we reevaluate our raw material sourcing strategy to improve cost efficiency and supply chain resilience over the next 6 months? Who do we need to call this week to test a different route or contract? What's our current exposure to potential water scarcity or increased utility costs? And what proactive measures can we take to mitigate these cost increases? And third, how can we better integrate local Indiana automation expertise into our operational planning to boost productivity and address workforce challenges in the coming year? Who are the top 2 or 3 local providers we should be talking to? And what small pilot could we start this quarter? If this helped you think a little clearer about how these headlines actually hit your inputs, your utilities, and your shop floor, send it to another Indiana operator who should be ahead of this stuff. I'm Daniel Burke. This is your TEG Daily Indiana Manufacturing Brief, and I will talk to you tomorrow.